Hello and welcome to Alfie Ordinary's Living Legends, the show where we'll be getting to know some of the most celebrated drag performers of past, present and future. I'm your host, Alfie Ordinary, and I'll be sitting down with UK drag royalty to talk big gigs, big wigs, and what it really means to be a living legend. And speaking of living legends, I am joined today by none other than Dave Lynn. With a career spanning over 45 years, Dave Lynn is a well-known face of stage and screen. From his appearance in the 1996 cult gay classic Beautiful Thing, to a stint in Coronation Street, to appearing in Panto with Dame Barbara Windsor. Dave is a legend in the drag scene and one of the most respected and treasured acts in the UK. Hello, Dave, how are you?
Hi, darling,
You almost said hi, Dave, didn't you?
I did.
I put you off.
No, I was going to say hi, darling. Thank you. You made me feel very old.
Oh, no, sorry.
No, not at all.
Didn't mean to call you an old coin.
I'd rather be old than not here.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's an absolute honour to have you. How are you? Do you like what I've done with the place?
I love it. I really do love it.
Good.
And it's actually nice to be out and see someone, especially you.
Oh, stop
because
it.
you're lovely to see. Yeah, no, it's nice. It's fabulous.
You
I
look
love
very
it.
at home there in your gorgeous gown.
Do you know, yeah, I mean, this is like the Jewish chaise longue. Don't make it long enough to lay down because they'll go quicker.
Oh my God. Okay, so I want to start. Right, you've had 45 years in drag. I literally can't
Not in the same dress,
that.
by
Not
the
in
way.
this
No,
one.
no.
I thought I could smell something. 45 years in drag. I want to go right back to the start, to your first days in drag. Can you tell us about that?
Well, yes. It was a case of I was very fascinated by show business. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that... it was Liza Minnelli. I'd watched this programme called Liza with a Z. And I remember going upstairs and there's something about you that thinks, wow, and I wanted to be Liza.
Yeah.
You know, but I was a man. So drag never came into my thing and I wanted to go to a stage school. My parents thought I was too sensitive. And to be honest with you, they were both right. And I loved them for their decision not to let me go. So I went into other jobs, you know. I went to, I'm Jewish, you know that, because I haven't paid for the dress yet. So it was a different sort of era, you know. I actually became drag before I knew I was gay.
Really?
Yeah, I knew I was different, but the drag thing was not in my mind. But I was very fascinated, like all of us were in those days, by characters, Barbra Streisand, Bassie in her fantastic frocks. There was something, you know, I mean, gay men just love women like that.
Yeah.
And I think I was just one of those men. But gay wasn't discussed in my day. You didn't talk about it, you know, and you pretended. I mean, if you were quite pretty as a young guy, guys in pubs would go, "What are you staring at, you puffed-up?" Well, it wasn't my fault. I just bent down in front of him to get my eyelash. And there was nothing like that at all. The drag was a kind of a dare for me at the beginning. I started, my friend at school went to a school in Camden town called the Jewish Free School, which is libelous in itself because nothing was free, trust me. And my friend at school, and I think, thinking back now, her parents were divorced, so we were best friends. I always was with her mum. When we went to her dad's place, it hadn't occurred to me that they'd divorced because he was gay.
Oh!
She knew about the black cat through him.
Yeah.
And so we, at a very young age, sneaked down there to the black cat, which was amazing. It was an atmosphere I'd never seen, never thought of. And then watching drag on stage, I mean, it frightened me a bit.
Yeah.
And then one night, I think her father caught us and asked the manager to bar us.
And this was, I don't want to make you feel old here, this was the mid-70s.
Oh, yes, it's mid-70s, yeah, totally. I think, well, shouldn't have been in the pub, basically.
Yeah.
Because when the first time I entered the talent contest, I think the truth of the matter was I was just about to turn 70.
So you entered a drag contest at the Black Cap. How did that go?
Oh, terrible.
Oh.
Dreadful. Absolutely awful. I have no idea what drag was.
Yeah.
I'd become friends, having gone there. It became our little haunt.
Yeah.
And when her father wasn't there, we went. And I loved watching the drag. There were such brilliant acts. There was a lot of live, but I would call, you know, like Dames from pantomime acts.
Yeah.
And I was fascinated because the whole look, the whole atmosphere, but no way was I going to do it until this girl and we decided to try our first pint of lager.
Right.
And she dared me. There was a talent contest every Monday night at the Black Cat,
Yeah.
hosted by Mark Fleming and Mrs. Shufflewick, who were two of the greatest. I mean, these weren't mine. These two were. And Mrs. Shufflewick would have been a big star, apart from the fact that he was an alcoholic.
Right.
More stories about him later. And she dared me. And I remember saying to my parents, I don't know if my sexuality had really come into it at that point, but I remember saying to my parents, I was going to enter, and I borrowed a halter neck off my mum and a miniskirt off my dad. No, off my mum. Yeah. And I did my Liza Minnelli things. So the second time I went into it, I was doing more of what I wanted.
Yeah.
It was really hard. I do remember walking on stage because I had a miniskirt on, and it was not natural to show your legs. And every pair of high heels when I started were black.
Yeah.
They didn't make colours. They weren't pretty. They were black and they were patent.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember walking on and just not knowing what to do with my legs, how to walk.
Was it like a legs
yeah,
together?
It was but for some reason, the audience did take to me this time, and I won this contest.
Oh, I see. And so that was in 1977, was the...
I think it was earlier than that time.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
I won illegally. It was a great experience because to be that nervous and innocent is sometimes when you're the best because you haven't got the horrors of what is going to happen.
And the adrenaline.
Yeah, and I didn't know what I looked like. I was made up by another act. So the whole thing in those days, the acts it was very heavy. I think it's gone back that way now. If you look at RuPaul's, it's very heavy. But I mean, my friend who taught me, he used to get 12 pairs of eyelashes and stick them together.
Whoa.
For his makeup, and that's how I got that from.
Oh my gosh!
It was very. The first time they made me up, I thought I'd fallen asleep. I couldn't open my eyes. They were so heavy.
So you mentioned Mrs. Shufflewick.
Yes.
Who were the other big names at the time? Who were you watching at the Black Cap?
Oh, wonderful stuff. I mean, I don't know if you remember them. You're probably too young. But there was a wonderful act called Hinge and Bracket.
I've heard of them. Yeah.
That did go on to be big stars.
Yeah.
Royal Variety. And we went to see it. Sundays had the best act.
Yeah.
You know, so Sundays we always there. I remember it was so packed as a young man. You know, other guys would say, "Look, I'll put you on my shoulders." It was fabulous. Hinge and Bracket went on to be big stars. Mrs. Shufflewick was a guy called Rex Jameson, who we thought was in his 70s, and his act was all about a very, very drunk old lady, and it was hysterical.
Yeah.
You almost believed that Shuff, that's what we called him, was a woman. And he died, and when he died, it was written that he was actually 41.
Oh my gosh.
But he was such an alcoholic.
Yeah.
He was, I mean, Radio 2 had given him his own show.
Oh wow.
In that time, and but he used to drink. And they locked him in his dressing room so that he wouldn't drink, and he had someone winch a crate of Guinness up through the window. So by the time they got him on, this is his, let's say, pilot show.
Yeah.
His guest was Vera Lynn.
Oh my God.
And of course, he was so drunk, he went to my special guest star, Vera Lynn, and she didn't come in time, and he went, "Silly cow." And that was the end of that.
So 1976, the Black Cap, you won the competition.
I did.
Can you tell us a bit more about the night? What happened?
Yes, I was not the popular winner.
Oh.
There was a wonderful act, Adrella, Peter, and we were great friends, but there was a huge competitive thing. As you know, like in any competition like Strictly, you get to 3 or 2 and suddenly these two are so close, and we were. And I think I was the unpopular winner. I won fair and square, but I wasn't the popular winner. It was just one of those things. My life had not been like the others. I came from a very middle-class Jewish background. I had a lovely family who were very good. Adrella's father, on the other hand, was the chief of police and lived in Marble Arch, literally in Marble Arch. So we were very different guys, but we loved each other as people, but this was a competition. And I knew, I actually knew when I'd won, that it wasn't a popular decision. I knew it.
Yeah.
But it didn't bother me. The thing was, Adrella went on to get a lot of work.
Yeah.
Peter was a lovely man. He just had a great way with people. And at that time, he was out. He was out really early, and I still hadn't made my mind out or didn't know. Of course, I knew.
Yeah.
But, in your mind, you're thinking, it'd be so much easier being Jewish, find a wife, get a nice house, we'll open a Bible shop. I wanted to be different.
Yeah, so you were still having those thoughts even though you were doing drag?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't think drag would be a living this long.
Okay, well, here you are.
I know. I'm thrilled.
So you won the competition. Did that kickstart your career?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. I did the gig at the Black Cat.
Yeah.
But then I met this guy. Now I found that I was in love with him.
Right.
And he was my first. And he was a very straight type of man. In those days, you did. If we were in a restaurant and we were talking and I wanted to discuss an outfit or makeup, I'd have to refer to it as a motorcycle, and and I got the matching gloves and helmet.
Like drag Polari.
Well, it was our own. He couldn't talk about it, but he was a brilliant sound man.
Okay.
So he kind of created me, and we used to go up to the West End to a fantastic restaurant off Regent Street called Mike's Diner.
Right.
And we just, because there weren't the clubs like we have, and we met a lot of people in there, and an agent asked me if I wanted to do the hostess clubs.
Right.
As a drag queen. And it's more the fact that I was very girly looking.
Yeah.
Really girly looking. It was very easy. And so it was 10 minutes a spot, and you went to these, when I say hostess clubs, I don't, there were fantastic women, but basically, I suppose it was high-class prostitution.
Right, I see.
So, you've seen this in films where they sit with a customer, they make them buy champagne.
Yeah, flirt a bit.
Well, I was popular because their conversation was, is it a girl or a boy?
Oh, I see.
So I got a lot of work, and it was £10 a show.
Yeah.
And I would do 5 a night. So in the end, I would actually drive from my house in Ilford in drag, and got stopped by the police a couple of times. I know
full?
I'm full drag because it was easier.
Yeah.
And in those days, I put my own hair into a piece.
Yeah.
And so there was nothing to change.
Right.
And I got stopped, and the policeman, they go, roll your window down. So I did. He went, and he literally said to me, "Who's a naughty girl?"
Wow.
So I thought, oh God, he hasn't caught on. So I thought, don't talk, because I sound like Paul Robeson when I talk. So yeah. I just really sillily went, and he went, "No, don't do that again."
Oh my gosh! What was the offence that you were pulled?
Oh, I'd gone through I was late. I was running.
I see. You ran a red light in full drag. Got pulled over.
But he did let me off. Yeah, no, he let me go. But I never uttered a word.
Did you have to flash a thigh or anything?
No, I actually had my tracksuit on. No, down that bit. It's like Zoom these days. Just the top. And he let me go. But the clubs in the West End, and so the conversation for the girls would be, the guys would go, "Oh, I mean, it's a boy or a girl." So I did this, and I used to get like £50 a night, which was really good money.
And you said you used to walk between these
Well, it was easier
venues.
Because the scene wasn't the gay scene, so it was these hostess clubs, and a lot of them were in. They started in Mayfair and used to work towards Soho,
right?
And then you'd go even cheaper.
Oh,
and the act would change. I had different acts. It was only 10 minutes, so. One of the acts, especially for the cheap, not the cheaper ones, but, the raw ones, right? That was the prostitute act.
Right. And
I used to cut the songs with talking.
Uh-huh.
So, it'd be money, 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 or hey, big spender, and see anything you like. And then you'd go to the Mayfair side, and it would be much more of a classy turn.
Yeah. So you worked with Lily Savage, didn't you?
I did.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I can, because I was working in this pub, and there was a Salvation Army costume that had been left in the dressing room. I thought, oh, that'd be funny. Jewish drag queen dressed as Salvation Army. So I nicked it.
Oh my God.
And then I got a phone call. hello, is that Dave Lynn? And it was Savage. It was her costume, so I had to give it to her back.
Oh my gosh. But you've done shows with...
Yeah, we did. We became very good friends at the White Swan, where I had a resident Friday night and Savage was a guest.
Right.
And for some unknown reason, one day we decided to sing I Know Him So Well together.
Which is her big one that she does on...
Which she did with Barbara Dixon.
Yeah.
But it was us that did it. And that's how it started with her. And eventually... we became good friends, and someone at Heaven suggested that we should do Whatever Happened to Baby Jane together.
I've seen this on YouTube.
Yeah, and you can see it because it came to the Brighton Festival. Well, Alfie, I have never laughed so much. I mean, I think one of my favourite lines, we did it at Brighton Festival at the Old Ship, and I think there's a famous line that Blanche says, "Oh, Jane, you wouldn't treat me like this if I wasn't in this wheelchair."
I wasn't in this
And I remember Savage just going to the front of the stage going, "All right, everyone. But you are, Blanche, you are." And we remained friends after that, yeah.
Oh, gorgeous. Now, obviously, everyone knows Lily Savage from Blankety Blank and The Lily Savage Show.
Well, Lily, I mean, knocked us out. I mean, she suddenly... I think it was the big breakfast with Lily that started it. But do you know what? He never changed as a person. I always found him... that I didn't feel any jealousy, or I thought everything was correct.
Yeah, but I mean, you've done your own work on television as well, haven't you? You're in A Beautiful Thing. I have to say, this is so when I was a young warthog. We can cut that out. Don't worry.
No, keep it in.
Keep it in. Ah!
Honestly, keep it in.
When I was 15 years old, I came out to my best friend.
15 years old.
No, I wasn't.
I bet you were, yeah.
I was 15. This was in 2005, and a family friend of my friend that I came out with just sort of came over while I was at our house and just handed me this book and this DVD and said, "Oh, you should watch this, I think you'll really like it." And it was A Beautiful Thing.
Yes.
And so other than Lily Savage on TV, who, if I'm honest, I didn't know was a drag queen at the time, you were the first drag queen I ever saw.
Do you know, the funny thing was that Jonathan Harvey, who wrote Beautiful Thing, I was involved with, let's say, an actor. And I was asked, my boyfriend, brother, was a teacher, and he said, "I've got a friend who wants to write a play," and he was wondering if he could follow Dave around, and it was Jonathan.
Really?
But the film didn't come about.
So the play was A Beautiful Thing?
The play was Beautiful Thing, and so a lot of the comments, the sayings I was saying, I had never seen the play for some reason, and when the part came, we were in, can I swear?
Yes.
Well, my friend Lola, she had a great saying for certain venues that we did. "Oh, Dave, you working there? Oh, it's a graveyard shithole."
Oh, yeah.
You know, so she was always confidence building. And we went there, and it was a hard pub to do. It was one of those hard pubs. But at the end of the show, I remember someone coming up to me and saying, "Oh, I love that. Well done, you two." And I was working with Michael Topping. I was another act then, David Millett. So I've been through the gamut. And the guy said, "Oh, we've got this film. We think you'll be dead right for." I went, "Oh, yeah, that's right, of course." You know, because it was in this pub. Yeah. And they continued. So I didn't audition from it. So the more I said no, the more money I got.
Oh my God.
And I remember saying to my lovely mum and dad, because I'd moved to Brighton by that point, I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll pick you up after the show. I've got to do this little bit of filming at the Gloucester in the morning. It'll take, an hour." And then we'll drive. Back home. And of course, it took ages. It was a boiling hot day, and then they kept sending me to ad lib. And the "I Feel Like Chicken Tonight" line was an advert that Ian Wright was doing.
What?
It was an advert.
I remember the Chicken Tonight advert. Yeah,
that was an ad lib. Because it was getting hotter. Yeah. And the shots, and I had to keep filling in. And the two lovely boys who I've remained in touch with, really, were very nervous. And
it was their first film, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, they were babies, And I actually remember when we were doing the scene, and they were being like, "Oh, oh God, if I touch him, will I become gay?" One of them did, But I do remember I put my arms around him and said, I'm more nervous than you. It's harder for me, and that was lovely. But it was 12 hours we spent.
Oh, I bet. I bet.
I didn't know the film was going to be that big.
I mean, it still is. It's a cult gay classic.
Well, it is. When I watched it, I thought, my God, this is lovely. It was so natural.
Yeah, I watched it again recently. To be honest, I forgot that Shirley from EastEnders plays the mum. Yes. I couldn't believe it. I was like, Dave and Shirley, and Kim as well. But
well, there's lots of meetings about this, and I've met them all in one way or another. And Tamika she's really naughty.
Oh, I bet.
We did a thing. I think we did a beautiful thing celebration. Yeah. And they all came, and she was like, these photographs you have done by and she's got her finger up my bum.
Oh my gosh.
And she's only short, so it was quite nice.
And you've done some TV moments as well. Me and Lola, the last episode, spoke about The Weakest Link, which you did 4 of them. Didn't you? Was that a good time? No? Okay, moving on.
No. I really didn't want to do it.
Really?
No, I
heard it was quite early in the morning.
It was very early in the morning, and I wasn't really interested in doing this. I think I was at the 2 Brewers, and I think they came in with their cameras and said, "Do you want to do The Weakest Link?" And Lola and I were both on that, and she spoke to me all the way home she was a good friend, and she said, "Do you want to do it?" I said, "I think I will. And we had a laugh, and for some reason I got through to the final.
Who were you in the final against?
Betty Legs Diamond.
Right, okay.
From Funny Girls.
Yeah.
It was a very funny show.
Yeah, and you did 4 of them though, didn't you?
I ended up doing 4, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
did you ever win?
No, I think Basil Brush beat me.
You were beaten by Basil Brush?
Oh, I dislike the guy intensely. I think Anne Robinson said to me at one point, why you keep voting Basil off? I said, because he's got a man's hand where I want it, which was actually cut out of the programme.
Was it?
No, Kills the Priest.
Now, I recently watched your episode of Silent Witness that you were in. It's on BBC iPlayer at the moment, and I have to say, for a moment, I did think maybe you did it. I was like, hang on, Dave is looking sus.
Alfie, this is great because we got, I had an agent for acting, and we got this offer for Silent Witness. They said, right, you're just going to be a dead body on a slab. And then we got this huge script through.
Oh my God.
And actually, because I was the silent witness.
Yeah, no, you were. It was you that was holding all the secrets. And speaking of that, you also did a show called Faking It, didn't you? In the early 2000s. I also recently watched. I've done my research.
You have.
And it was great. It was where you took someone from the Navy, a naval officer from Portsmouth.
Yes.
And you had to teach him in a month to teach him how to be a drag queen, didn't you? How was that?
Well, I didn't want to do it.
Right, okay.
I was absolutely terrified. Well,
he didn't want to do it either.
Well, no, he didn't. But I remember the week before, I'd said the guy who I'm training should live with me because if you know me, I'll make you feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. You know, I won't, there won't be any bondage, not at first. So I asked for that, and I remember a couple of days, and I kept having these awful nightmares about him suddenly.
Oh, what, before?
Just before he came to live. Getting out of the bed with the axe. But actually, the best thing about the programme wasn't so much me teaching him drag, it was the relationship between us. Yeah. We liked each other. Yeah.
Well, he started off, I mean, we were watching the show, and he was saying some pretty iffy things.
Homophobic things.
Yes, well, I'll say it as totally. It is. He was coming out with those homophobic lines that I heard when I was growing up. Like, I don't mind gay people, but when they're a bit all mincy and a bit this... And we were sat there watching it like, what the fuck is he talking about? But, and then what was so good was that obviously he was a very straight man from the armed forces coming into your space, and it was kind of satisfying seeing him feel uncomfortable and scared, because obviously as gay people sometimes we feel uncomfortable and scared.
Yes.
There was a moment that I absolutely loved. He looked in the mirror, I can't remember what he was wearing, but he said, oh, it's a bit faggoty, and you, without missing a beat, said, can we not use that word, please? Like, enough of that. Yes. You shot him down, and it was great seeing you, after him saying like, oh, not sure about gay people, you stood up for yourself. I'm guessing he learnt a lot in that month from being with you.
But, he was open-minded. as it turns out, Spence, his name was Spence, lovely Spence Bowder, became a friend, and he was, what you saw on film was actually quite long. I didn't think they were going to use it, but it turned into a 2-hour sort of film.
It was, yeah.
But there was a lot of times you didn't see that they said, Spence, go with Dave to work. And he would. He'd drive me to work, and he became protective.
Wow.
He was very like, have you eaten?
Oh, bless him.
He was really protective. And he went to me one night, he was very upset, and he came to talk to me. He said, I need to have a little chat. He said, I've just seen some gay men have got beaten up. And he was really upset. So it wasn't just the drag, it was his heart was changing. His idea of people were changing. And I think that's what the show was good.
It was so good just to see two very different people, and one with a very certain opinion, and just spending time with you.
Yes,
was
and
enough.
he changed me.
Yeah.
He did change me.
What did you learn from him?
Because no one had ever asked me to teach him.
And you went on, didn't you do a drag school afterwards, an academy afterwards?
Yes.
Miss Dave Lynn.
But do you know what, Alfie? It took it out of me.
Yeah.
We did the drag academy for 2 years, and it's draining because you are working, and I want people to be successful. I have a theory, if someone you're working with is good, you're going to be better. And that's what the academy was about. But after 2 years, I had to stop. I felt so much for all the guys. You know, if someone wasn't good, if someone was good, you had to be honest, and it was brilliant to do.
We've spoken about your TV work. You've also worked in theatre as well.
Yes.
Can you tell me a bit about that?
Well, I've done quite a lot in theatre because I knew nothing about it, and I didn't.
You seem like someone that rises to the challenge. If someone says, "Can you do this?" you go, "No, yes, I can." Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or I can't not do it.
Yeah.
That would piss me off.
Yeah.
So when I was doing drag, I remember I joined an amateur company in Ilford at the Kenneth More Theatre, and played the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz.
Amazing.
So I did like theatre, and I was lucky enough to get cast. One of my first, I did a lot for Terence Higgins Trust when I moved to Brighton.
Yeah.
We did Boys in the Band. I did Talk Song Trilogy, My Night with Reg. This was all to raise money. But I really liked learning the script and becoming someone else.
Yeah.
And it wasn't necessarily drag. I mean, Talk Song had a little bit of drag, but it was about a person.
Yeah.
So I was very happy. And then one of my great loves and memories is getting the guys together to do Boys/Girls in the Band at the Theatre Royal.
In Brighton.
In Brighton.
Yeah.
My lovely friend Kevin Wood, who was the Panto director who I'd worked for many years, had said to me after faking it, he said, I've got a great idea, Dave. Let's get 7 or 8 actors. We'll do a potted version of Boys in the Band. The second half, you train them to do drag. And I said, I've got a better idea. Why don't we get 7 or 8 of the best drag queens in the country and get them to act? And then they'll know how to do the drag. But the acting will move people because you're seeing, there was one thing about being drag queen. Is, I remember when I used to go out afterwards, it was like being naked.
Yeah.
It was like, people would say to me, oh, I thought you'd be taller. Oh, I thought you wore glasses.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were talking to. And so we did. I got some of the best at the time, and my favourite was this. I think we could only do half a week because it was Brighton Pride, and I got together with these guys. And for us to perform and act the Boys in the Band bit was, do you know what more important to the guys? They knew to the drag. They knew how to do it.
Yeah.
I had Rose Garden, my lovely, I lost Lady LaRue, sadly he died, but him, Lola Lasagna, Miss Jason.
Oh my gosh.
Sandra.
Yeah, an all-star cast.
Titila Cat. We had, and it was just, I remember at the end of it, the first night, and, drag queens can be a bit, but after the first night, we all ran off, and there was this huge hug. I'd never seen drag queens do that.
Oh.
And so that is one of my favourite times. But the joy of working with each other, and trusting each other without our makeup. Because my mum always used to say to me, your makeup is kind of your mask.
Yeah.
You know, once you're in it, you're a different person. I think she actually said, God rest her soul, my mum was lovely, and she said, I think you change when you put the wig on. You know, it's like Beryl Reid used to say, it was the shoes.
Yeah.
You know, she changed her character. But to do this with these guys was heartwarming, and I absolutely loved it, yes.
I bet. Well, speaking of Pride, you mentioned Pride. I found out recently that the first Pride in the UK wasn't until 1972, which was just a few years before you started drag. So over your 45-year career, you must have seen a lot of change happening, not just in drag, but in our rights as queer people. What's that been like?
Oh, wonderful.
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 Short and sweet.
Oh, darling, it was. It was. Do you know what? Every time we got something, it was a joy. But I was never prepared to allow life to tell me how to be. I never was. And I knew that. And I was lucky. I had great parents. And they were supportive. But I was never going to let anyone tell me what to do. You know, I thought... I wanted drag to be an art, and I'm very happy that in the last decade it has become an art and something to be respected. The talent is incredible, and I'm proud. I never thought of this as a career, babe.
My gosh.
I never thought I'd be here today talking to you.
And you still are here, 45 years. And now, I mean, I've heard people use the joke, oh, I've got tights older than you, but you... you literally mean it, don't you? So 45 years in drag, what is the secret? What have you done? How have you managed to do 45 years in drag?
Oh, you've got to stay.
Yeah.
You've got to stick it out. I think, and move with time. Move with time. And that's quite hard because, you know, I mean, my most modern song was written in 1940. No, I'm joking. But you know what I mean, don't you? Yeah. Move along, and accept the new. I mean, my lovely friend David Raven, Maisie Cholet. I mean, he's in his 80s now, and a bad-tempered man. But we talked years ago, and I remember someone saying to us, "Don't invite other acts, otherwise we'll lose our job." And David and I said, "If we don't do this, drag will die." And I would like to be remembered with you as somebody who made it live, and that it's an art, and actually it is a fucking art. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear. No, it's all right. And on that note, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute honour to have you here. You had a good time? Oh, good. It's been so gorgeous. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Alfie Ordinary. You've been Dave Lynn. You've been fabulous. I want you to stay fabulous. I want you to stay safe. I want you to love each other. And I want you to love yourself. Bye-bye.